Hey everybody, this video is going to go over the homework assignments for the Week 8 module. So if you look underneath the tab for Week 8 homework assignments, you'll see that there are 4 items listed. And so I'm going to go through each one and explain how you need to complete them. The first item is, of course, the Week 8 journal. So for this journal, we're kind of changing direction a little bit. It's a little different than all of the other journal entries that you've done so far. We're starting to draw the quarter or the term to a close, and so I want you to think about what we have covered throughout the term and what you've learned. So I have given you 5 topics to choose from: pre-writing techniques, the rhetorical situation, thesis statements, introductions and conclusions, and paragraph development. And I want you to choose 3 of those topics and tell me, how familiar were you with it before this class? Do you think it's an important lesson to learn? Why or why not? Do you think you've mastered the topic? If not, what can you do to continue strengthening your skills in this area? Basically just getting a feel for which lessons students find the most helpful, which ones they find the most difficult or confusing, which ones they think don't need to be covered in the class. I'm not saying that I'll definitely get rid of them, but I like the feedback, okay? So that's what I want, is just what your experience has been with 3 of those items on that list, okay? The next item for homework in Week 8 is Week 8 Assignment 1, reference page entries. So the Week 8 module was all about research in APA format, okay? We're not writing a research paper. I've said that several times, and I'm not trying to throw something at you here. This is not a research paper, this assignment. This is just practice with creating the entries for a reference page, right? So all of the sources that you have referred to in the body of a paper, even if you only refer to them once, and whether it's been summarized, paraphrased, or direct quoted, any source that you have referenced in the body of a paper has to show up on your references page at the end of the paper, right? So we're just going to practice on formatting, on creating a reference page. I have done all the legwork for you, meaning I have already come up with all of the sources that you're going to use to make this reference page. So you'll see them bulleted under the assignment instructions. So you've got a book that has only one author, and I tell you the book is titled Psych, and the author is A. Spencer Rathus. The book was published by Cengage Learning in Boston, Massachusetts in 2015. So you have all the information you need. Now create the reference page entry for that source. What would it look like? You can do this manually, looking at like an APA handbook and putting all the information into the correct spots. You can use the reference function in Microsoft Word to help you create it. You can go to a website and input the information and it'll create the reference entry for you. Any of those options is fine. You don't have to memorize how to do APA reference page entries. There's tons of resources out there for you to go to that will help you create the reference entry for any given source. So I've given you all the information you need. Now you just need to create the reference entry for that source. And then there are 5 other sources listed underneath that as well. So a book that has at least 2 authors, an online journal article with 1 author, a print journal article with more than 1 author, information that's from a website with an author, and information from a website without an author. So I've given you 6 different types of sources, and the type of source matters. So there's a difference between what a reference page entry will look like for an online journal article versus what it would look like for a journal article that was in print, that you like literally held in your hands to read. There's a difference in how those entries will look, right? So you know what type of source it is, and you have all the information you need to create the reference page entry. You can create that reference page entry however you want. Again, you can do it yourself manually, looking at an APA handbook and putting all the information where it goes. You can use the references function in Microsoft Word, or you can go to a website and input all the information and it'll spit out a reference page entry for you. However you choose to do it. I'm not concerned about that. What I am concerned about is how you type up the entries, because I want it to look exactly like a references page would look at the end of an essay. So you need to have the font right, you need to have the spacing right, you need to have them listed in the correct order, and you need everything about how a reference page should look in APA format. That's what I want you to submit. Those 6 sources are on a reference page together. Now, how should it look? How should each entry look, and how should the whole page look? I've given you an example in the assignment instructions, and you also have an example up in the Week 8 module material, the sample APA essay that we went over together. But you have also attached to the assignment, underneath the assignment instructions, I have provided you a sample reference page, exactly how I want yours to look. It's different sources, so it's not like you can just submit the same thing that I've attached there, but how it looks is exactly how I want yours to look. Alright, so it's just practice in creating a reference page in APA format, but I've done all the source work for you. You have all the information you need. Now you just got to make the entries and format the page correctly. Okay. The next item for homework in Week 8 is Week 8 Assignment 2, Sample Essays. So when you get to this assignment, if you scroll down past the instruction box, you'll see quite a few attachments for this one. There are 8 essays to read. So there's 8 files, one for each essay, and then a file with the assignment on it so that you can download that assignment sheet and type in your answers that way if you want. But you're going to read all 8 essays. They're all student samples. None of them are terribly long. None of them are difficult to read. They're all pretty quick. But there are 8 of them. So you do want to budget your time throughout the week knowing that there are 8. There are 2 evaluation essays, 2 process analysis essays, 2 compare-contrast essays, and 2 classification essays. So for each essay, there are questions listed. So if you keep scrolling in the assignment instructions, you'll see Halloween. That's the name of the first evaluation essay. So there are 6 questions there. What is the topic? What's the thesis statement? What's the first criteria and evidence? Second criteria and evidence? Third criteria and evidence? And does the author provide any additional criteria? If so, list each additional criteria and evidence. And then same thing with the next essay, Chili Time. It's the second example of an evaluation essay. Then you get into the 2 compare-contrast essays. Texas Chili, then there are 6 questions to answer about that one. 5 steps to addiction recovery, 6 questions to answer about that one. Then we get into the compare-contrast essays, Parenting 101 and Singapore and Trinidad, 6 questions to answer about each of those essays. Then the final 2 essays are the 2 examples of classification essays, Baseball Fans and Breakfast Foods. And again, 6 questions to answer about each of those essays. None of the questions are difficult, and none of your answers should be lengthy. They should all be pretty brief answers, very brief. You might even just copy and paste a sentence and put it in. It shouldn't be long responses. So anyway, it is a lot, but at the same time it's not difficult. But I do want you to know ahead of time that there are 8 of them that you're going to have to read and answer questions for, just to budget your time, because you might not want to sit down and try to do all 8 at once. That might get a little tedious. But if you can break it up and do a few here and there, that might make it easier. But anyway, just do your best. These are examples of the type of essay that you're going to be asked to write for the final exam essay. We've written paragraphs in each of these styles. We've written an evaluation paragraph, a process analysis, a compare contrast, and a classification paragraph. Your final exam essay is going to ask you to choose one of those paragraphs you wrote and turn it into a full essay. So these essays that I'm asking you to read for this assignment are examples of those types of essays. So reading through them and answering these questions will help you get a better feel for how that kind of essay should look. And then that will better prepare you to write your own for the final exam essay, right? Okay. Then the final item for homework in week 8 is, of course, the week 8 discussion. So for this one, we're kind of following up on research in APA format, and we're going to talk about plagiarism and other types of source abuse. So for this discussion, I have a list of other types of source abuse. We've talked in the module material about plagiarism, but there are other offenses that happen in writing that are still kind of considered plagiarism, and it's definitely not using your sources properly. So there's a list there, like misstating a source, using a source out of context, overusing source material, and the list goes on. And what I'm asking you to do is read through the list and then choose 2 to 3 of those source abuses in the list and explain where you see them show up. Do you see them show up in school, in the news, in social media, etc.? And when you see those offenses happening, how does it affect the author's credibility, and how does it affect us as the reader or viewer? All right? So pretty easy. Just go through the list and pick 2 or 3 that you see a lot, and then explain where you see it and how it affects all of us. Okay. Try to get your first post up by Thursday at 11:59, and then that'll give everyone plenty of time to respond to 2 classmates before the discussion closes at 11:59 on Sunday. If you have any technical difficulties with the discussion or submitting any of the other assignments, reach out to me right away so we can try to get that issue resolved. If you have any questions in general about the assignments, what I'm asking for, how to complete them, reach out to me and I will help you as best as I can. Otherwise, good luck on everything, and can't wait to see what you guys post for the discussion.